Today we're at Camp Jordan in beautiful Eastridge, Tennessee, and we're talking about effective and efficient gear storage, and that starts right now. Hello everyone, Don Stock here with another Challenge Course Pro Tip brought to you by Adventure Park Insider, powered by the Adventure Guild, where it's our goal to help you build a better, safer, and more professional Challenge Course program. If this is your first time checking out one of our videos, welcome and thank you, and we hope that you'll find it really helpful for your program. Maintaining and properly storing your Adventure Park, Challenge Course, or zipline equipment is not only an important part of your risk management and accident prevention plan. Done well, it will also extend the life of your expensive equipment and increase efficiency in your operation, whether you're a camp challenge course or a commercial adventure operation. Today, we're going to talk about 3 big ideas that you can put into practice with your gear storage that will make your equipment last as long as possible, save you and your staff time, and make the whole operation run more smoothly. So, big idea number 1 is organization. Nothing contributes to wasted time and a ho-hum attitude towards gear care quite like a lack of organization. When things don't have a designated home and there isn't an expectation that items be put back in their assigned spot at the end of every program day, things quickly get messy and completely out of control. As a company, we inspect hundreds of camps and commercial aerial adventure operations annually. So when it comes to gear storage organization, we've literally seen it all, from this to this. And one thing that always contributes to good gear care and program efficiency is solid organization. Now, organization creates a sense of professionalism and sets a tone for the attitude of the entire team. It also contributes in a significant way to staff satisfaction and program efficiency because, let's be honest, nothing is quite as frustrating during a busy, high-stress summer season than having to constantly look for things that should be readily at hand. It's like, seriously, what do we use radios, every day? Where are they? Where are the chargers? Where are the batteries? I mean, what's the deal? And disorganization is a self-perpetuating beast because when nothing has a designated place, everything gets put everywhere and nobody knows where anything is without going on a scavenger hunt. And that can be really frustrating. And not only is it frustrating, it's also a time suck that contributes to higher payroll, higher stress, and lower overall job satisfaction for your team. So good, well thought out organization is key to efficient gear storage. Now, to get organized, you need a couple things. First, you need a point person with an eye for and an interest in organization. Now, this may or may not be the course manager. In fact, the common factor behind gear rooms that look like this is a course manager who isn't a natural organizer. And you know what? That's okay. We all have our strengths and our weaknesses, but if you are a course manager who isn't a natural organizer, chances are you have a staff person who is. And here's an extra bonus tip. They're usually the ones complaining about not being able to find things. So be a good leader and task them with the organization process. And if you happen to be that continually frustrated staff person who has a passion for organization, volunteer for the job of organizing and policing your gear room. Now, the second thing you're going to need to get organized is you're going to have enough space. Another common issue that we see with gear storage is programs who simply don't have enough space for the amount of stuff that they have. They can't organize effectively because there just isn't enough real estate. Now, sometimes the problem can get solved just by getting rid of all the extra crap that accumulates over time, and just going through and sorting that out and purging opens up space to use for effective organization. But at other times, there literally just is not enough space, not enough room for everything that the program needs to operate. In those cases, you have a couple options. First, you can build or move into a place with a little bit more square footage. And I'm sure you're saying, boy, you're a smart one. Why didn't I think of that? But sometimes we don't think outside the box. So there may be another space on property that's perfectly suited that you just haven't thought of. But if you simply don't have another space and you're not able to build more space, then you need to employ space maximizing features, things like lofts, tiered hanging racks, creative ways to put things to maximize the space, or outside storage areas where you can put gear and equipment that doesn't necessarily have to be inside, things like rakes and shovels and all kinds of other tools. In the new gear shed that we put together for our team building course here in Tennessee, we've employed all of those things. Our loft, as you can see in this photo, is a place where we house odd things, odd shaped things like hula hoops, things we don't use very often, hard to store things like our pop-up tent and other items that we need to have on site but that we don't necessarily use every day. We have multiple levels of gear storage on the walls for our harnesses, our lanyards, our hardware, and our helmets. And we've installed this really cool locking toolbox that fits on the outside underneath where our ladders are housed. And there we are able to put things like chemicals, tools, etc. to free up valuable square footage inside the shed. Now, this has the added benefit of keeping things like gas and oil, grease, waterproofer, weed killer, and things like that away from program gear and away from accidental spills and things like that. Now, the third thing you're going to have to get organized is a way to designate a spot for everything and to label where that spot is. You can't really get upset with folks for not putting things back if there's not a designated, specific, and labeled spot where things are supposed to live. Now, you can do this the quick and cheap way with something like masking tape and a Sharpie, but that will probably blow your organizational person's feng shui gasket. So you can do what we do and you can use a label maker. They aren't expensive, most are under $50, but they make the organization and labeling process much cleaner. Now, the second big idea for improving gear storage is to make sure that you have an appropriate environment and appropriate storage methods for your gear. I've lost count of the number of times I've come across equipment, maybe only a year or two old during an inspection, that have been completely ruined due to poor storage conditions within the area where we're being stored or improper storage methods. That's both expensive and completely avoidable. When it comes to making sure that you have the proper atmosphere in your storage area, the major thing to account for is humidity. Now, high humidity, especially over time, promotes oxidation on aluminum. That's that powdery white stuff that you'll sometimes see on aluminum carabiners or on things like aluminum D-rings on harnesses. It also causes steel components to rust and soft goods like harnesses and lanyards to mildew. And all of that can ruin or seriously reduce the lifespan of your expensive equipment. So ridding your storage space of as much humidity as possible is key. The best way to deal with it is to use a climate-controlled space for gear storage, if at all you can. Now, I can hear all you program directors at camps laughing from here. I know, I get it. Many of you are lucky to have a roof, let alone a climate-controlled room. But at the very least, think about it. There might be a space that's viable for that. And especially if you have an off-season where your gear isn't in use, really consider moving it out of your gear shed and into a climate-controlled space over the winter months to get it out of the dampness. It also gives you an opportunity to really check things over, clean everything up, have everything washed, and store it ready for the next season. If a climate-controlled space isn't available, there are some things that you can do. Make sure your space is watertight. Fix any roof leaks. If your equipment happens to get caught in a storm, at the end of the day, don't just hang it all crammed together or throw it in a pile or something like that. Spread it out and position a fan to blow on it so that it can help dry. If you have electricity in your space, you can always run a dehumidifier. If you don't, DampRid is a passive moisture-absorbing crystal that pulls humidity out of the air. It's available in high-capacity tubs for spaces like garages and basements and can last as long as 6 months in the average-size gear shed. And again, if you don't have electricity in your storage area, a small solar fan system might be just the ticket to move enough air to help move humidity out and help out the DampRid to pull that humidity out of the atmosphere. I've linked a couple options for solar fan systems and DampRid in the descriptions. And finally, when it comes to creating the right environment and storage systems for your gear, just say no to bins. It's my contention that it's the challenge course devil who makes people think storing Lifeline gear in a bin is a good idea. He apparently owns stock in the manufacturing companies because nothing contributes to gear degradation and issues that result in premature retirement than storing equipment in bins. Why? Psychologically, they devalue the equipment. We put garbage in bins, and we put things in bins that we really kind of don't want to get rid of, but we don't really use, and so we just stick it over in a corner in a bin. They also trap moisture, which obviously is a problem. And they also take gear and equipment out of the line of sight so that we don't catch developing problems like rust, mildew, or rodent nest building activities, usually until it's too late. And that's a bummer. So when it comes to lifeline equipment like harnesses, lanyards, helmets, etc., just say no to bins. If you have to transport them from your gear shed over to the course and you can pull them off the wall and throw them in a bin, that's one thing. Don't store them in there. So let's recap. Big idea number 1, organization, organization, organization. Everything has a space, everything has a label. 2, make sure that you have the appropriate environment and the appropriate storage methods for your gear. And lastly, big idea number 3 is to create storage systems with efficiency in mind. One of the most helpful things that you can do to smooth out operations and to make things more pleasant for your team, for setup, for teardown, for keeping course paperwork and all those things in order is using storage solutions that contribute to efficiency. One of the simple ways that we apply this big idea is how we hang our lifeline gear. All of it lives on these really cool removable hooks with a set number of items per hook. A lot of the stuff is color-coded, everything has a spot, and everything has a label in the gear room. And those hooks allow us to quickly and easily move the gear outdoor to our gear rack. This outside rack uses the same crossbars and track system used inside the shed for holding our harnesses, lanyards, and helmets, so the transfer is clean, seamless, and when it's all together, it looks really pro. When the end of the day comes, gear can easily be inspected, counted, logged, and carried back into the shed on its hook and put right back in its designated spot, ready for the next day, quick, clean, and easy. So as we've seen, by applying a little bit of organization, forethought, and intentionality to your gear storage, you can increase job satisfaction for your staff, get the most mileage out of your expensive gear and equipment, and increase overall efficiency in your operation. And that's what I call a win all the way around. Now, if you have questions about gear storage or any other challenge course related topic, or if you have suggestions for other topics that you'd like to see us cover in upcoming pro tips videos, please leave them in the comments below. As always, if you have found value in this, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel, because each of those things helps us grow and create more content for people just like you. To connect with us for professional challenge course services, please visit us at challengecoursepros.com and we will help you in any way that we can. And have a fantastic day. I'm Don, and I'll see you next time.